Too long didn't read. Fiance got drunk and dumped me over text. He wants to fix things and I don't know what to do. 30F, 40M. We've been dating 2.5 years, currently long distance because of COVID. I'm in my home country with my parents and he's in the US. I visited him for a month in August and we've been apart since then. We had been having a fair number of arguments lately, mostly about how I felt he was being irresponsible by traveling during the pandemic. These fights ended with him giving me the silent treatment for a few days. Then, a few weeks ago, he had a huge outburst. I told him I was going for a ride on my scooter to get out of the house since everything is closed here. He had apparently been drinking and he blew up at me over text message, accusing me of cheating and demanding to know where I was going and who I was seeing. I asked if he was being serious, and he said no, I'm just kidding, except he kept grilling me like a criminal and I kept saying I'm just going out for a ride. Then he dumped me over text, called me a liar and told me I wasted the last 2 years of his life. I haven't cheated and never gave him a reason to think I was. The next day, he called me crying and said he had been really drunk and lonely and didn't mean any of it. I said I needed time to think and we were on a break for now. It's been 3 weeks and I still don't know what to do. I loved him and still do, but I feel horrible knowing that all my plans for my life could be thrown away in a text message. I'm not angry or sad anymore, but feel a lot of apathy. My fiance has been extra kind recently, and he's gotten a therapist to talk to, which I appreciate, but I just don't know what to do. Is it possible to move on, or will I never be able to fully trust him? Too long didn't read. Fiance got drunk and dumped me over text. He wants to fix things and I don't know what to do. Is this the first time he's made these kinds of accusations? Yes, it's the first time. However, he would always seem annoyed with me when I would go out of the house when we were apart. Where I live in Europe, places were open this summer and I could see my friends, so we would go to dinner or the beach. I don't think he thinks I was cheating, but he seemed to be upset that I had a social life while he was stuck at home, except he wasn't stuck at home. Our fight was about him taking multiple holidays while US has so many cases, and I went to visit him for a month and had to quarantine alone in a hotel when I came back. You are 30, he is 40. You are too old to have any tolerance for this behavior, and he shouldn't be having toddler-level meltdowns at his age. A 40-year-old should have more emotional maturity than using the silent treatment to punish his partner. I see multiple red flags here. First, him traveling frequently during the pandemic. To me, that is indicative of how much someone cares about others. It is so selfish to be traveling right now, and that is a very unattractive quality in a partner. Second, the way he handled this conflict. The silent treatment is a form of abuse, and it is not an acceptable way for an adult to deal with an argument. To compound that, he drunkenly blew up at you over an innocuous text and accused you of cheating. Jealousy and anger are a dangerous combination, and him impulsively dumping you over absolutely nothing then taking it back is either irrational and unstable or intentionally manipulative, neither of which are good. Have you two had conflicts before? How has he handled those? Is the silent treatment a frequent thing? I know this is just a snapshot, but it's ringing some serious alarm bells for me. How recently did you get engaged? Your ex-fiancé, you mean? Even if you take him back, make him work for it. Begin as you intend to go. You don't want your marriage to be him constantly walking out on you. My 29F mom, 57F, is ghosting me because I can't travel to Europe to see her for Christmas due to COVID pandemic. I am a PhD student in the US, originally from Europe. I have been in the US for 5.5 years, yet every year prior to the pandemic I visited my family back at home at least twice a year, once in the summer and once for Christmas. Like countless other people, I wasn't able to go home this summer, not just because of travel risks associated with COVID, but also because of the travel restrictions between US and EU and US embassies being closed. My mother had hopes that I would come in the winter, and so had I. But the situation got a lot worse on both continents. documents, and I was recommended by immigration expert at my university not to travel because of potential further border restrictions and closing of embassies, not to mention the risk of getting COVID during long intercontinental travels. The issue of being potentially stuck in my home country is that I would lose my legal status in the US, which would mean losing my job at my university in the middle of the pandemic. I also risk being separated from my partner of 3.5 years with no clear idea of when it would be possible for either of us to travel again. I spent 2 days discussing this difficult decision with the immigration expert at my uni. I contacted the US Embassy in my home country. I talked to my supervisor, as well as other international colleagues about their plans. I then called my mom to told her, and her reaction was saying that I don't want to come home and that I wouldn't even come to her funeral. I tried to stay calm despite this being a truly low blow and continued to explain my reasons further, but she eventually hung up on me. I then wrote a very long and detailed email about my reasons and also explaining that things are largely out of my control this year. We all are in the same situation in this regard, and I can't risk losing my degree and my job in exchange for 3 weeks at home, even though it makes me very sad that I won't see her. I didn't get any response, and she has been ghosting me since, not picking up any calls or responding to texts begging her to talk about this. My mother's approach to COVID is a combination of believing in some factual measures, such as wearing a mask, but also thinking we are all fine as long as we have good immunity and we are overly fearful. She is extremely religious and believes it's God's will if someone dies. She is not exactly trusting of modern medicine, and she also believes that I am staying safe not because of her prayers. In reality, I have been practicing social distancing non-stop since late March, so the irony is that I am safe thanks to the kind of behavior that she deems fearful. I am worried that her beliefs of this kind will make her unable to see my decision as responsible, and she will continue to think that I don't want to see her and came up with an artificial excuse that exaggerates the severity of the pandemic. Again, me and my partner spent Christmas with her last year, and I visited her twice in the summer of 2019 when she was going through a difficult separation from her then husband. So my track record proves that if this was a year like any other, I would go home as usual. This is not the first time she has been emotionally blackmailing me through ghosting. 4 years ago I had to go to therapy because of harm that her and her ex's religious fundamentalism did to me. But it's definitely the worst one yet, because like with many other people, I am already struggling because of planning my post-PhD future in the middle of pandemic. Me and my partner are finishing our advanced degrees at the time where jobs in our area went down by 70%, and she knows this, and for once I needed her support. Instead I now have this additional thing to worry about. I would be thankful for any advice on how to deal with this, because I am really struggling to do any work or focus on anything. Too long didn't read : Mom in Europe ghosted me because I can't travel from the US to see her for Christmas due to COVID. Well, this is not helpful, but she is right about one thing: if she drops dead tomorrow, you shouldn't go to her funeral either. I'm sorry you're going through this. There is no perfect advice except, try to stop giving this your energy. I'd suggest you look at the calendar and choose a day next week when you will attempt to reach out again with a neutral, check-in message, not an apology or any begging, where you remind her that you are ready to connect with her digitally when she's done with the silent treatment. Assuming you are happy to do so. Obviously, just not talking to her at all is a valid option here as well. And then do your best to not think of it until the time you determine. You might also want to silence her on your phone/email/text for now, so that she can't interrupt you, and then only check daily at a set time to see if she has decided to let you out of timeout. All of these plans should be designed to minimize her minute-by-minute impact on you and help you turn your mind back to the things you need to focus on. Finally, you need to start to make peace with the fact that your mother will never be a source of reliable support in your life. Once you completely and utterly stop expecting that of her, this behavior will be less distressing and distracting. Everyone is giving you very sane advice, and I want to point out in clear words, you should be angry at her. At no point in the text does it seem like you actually are, just worried and looking for a solution. Her treatment towards you, her manipulation techniques to make you feel guilty, and her whole disregard of your whole world is disgusting. The universe does not revolve around her. You already sent her an email. Now, enjoy Christmas with your partner and wait for her to grow up. Meanwhile, stop trying to contact her. Stop marching to her drumbeat. Said it yourself. This is what she's always done, and it's hurt you plenty in the past. I find it inconceivable that after writing this is not the first time she has been emotionally blackmailing me through ghosting. 4 years ago I had to go to therapy because of harm that her and her ex's religious fundamentalism did to me. You still went back to her abuse after. Her abuse is enough to put you into therapy, and clearly she doesn't have your health and well-being first and foremost in mind. It's all about her. Let her be alone with herself. Focus on your own life. Contact her after COVID is over if you want, but until then, cut her out completely. Your conflict is coming from the mother you want her to be, not the mother she is. She'll never be the former, and you deserve better than to be strung along by the latter. You being alive, you getting COVID. My 22F boyfriend, 22M, has failure to launch syndrome and I am at the end of my rope. My boyfriend, 22M, and I, 22F, have been together for 6.5 years. He is a sweet, emotionally mature man who has supported me in tough times through abusive parents and grueling coursework. He is kind, hilarious, and nerdy in all the right ways. He was coddled by his mother and now has failed to launch. He was in college for a while but dropped out, and while he wants desperately to go back to prove to himself he can get a degree, he has no idea what he wants to do and believes he won't ever find it, so it doesn't make sense to try anymore. He has seen lots of career counselors to try to fix this, but has now given up. He got his first job when I moved out of my parents' house and told him he could only move in with me if he had a job. He worked a crappy minimum wage job and complained every day. He never seriously listened when I said over and over that if he hates it that much we can look for something better. He has no skills. When COVID hit, he quit this job to protect our at-risk roommate. He started receiving unemployment, did what most of us did during quarantine: play video games and pretend the world wasn't burning down. Eventually, I returned to work, our roommate returned to work, and he didn't. He's still collecting unemployment, telling me that he's making more money than he's ever made before, so it doesn't make sense to get a job. He is still paying me rent. He has bought me presents for the first time ever too. Previously we were teenagers or financially dependent young adults, and his mom always bought presents for my birthday or Christmas. But it feels really gross to not get a Christmas present from him last year and now to have some extravagant presents bought for me from unemployment money. He tells me he wants to get his shit together. We have a meeting every week to check in on progress, his idea, and work towards the life he wants, but I don't think he wants it anymore. He just wants to keep me, not to be a more functional person. He is really afraid of growing up. I am at the end of my rope. I've tried yelling, I've tried empathizing to a really intense degree, I have handled this with as much love as I possibly can. I don't know what to do. I love him so much. I really just need him to go to therapy because I think everything else will fall into place. But he keeps missing initial appointments or not responding to emails from prospective therapists after we find them together. Tonight he told me he's so sad that I have so little faith in him, because I mentioned that it's disheartening to come home from a long day of work and see him just waking up. I no longer think of building a life together because I don't know if he'll ever get there. But I comfort myself by saying that we're just living in the moment and the future doesn't matter too much at our age. What would you do if you were me? This is very specific, so I honestly think there's a chance he'll come across this. If you see this, you know how much I love you. Anything I've said here I've said to your face. I just needed some advice. Too long didn't read. My boyfriend has failed to launch, no job, no degree, no activity. I really love him and don't want to leave him. What do I do?